Right. Okay, here is going to be. We're going to do recording today of the daisies. You will need masking fluid. You haven't got it ready already. You'll need your masking fluid, and you'll need your ruling pen. So you can put it on. Turn on a light. Right. Yes, you will need masking fluid because we're going to paint the background on first, and then we're going to put these little daisies in afterwards. Okay. So, usual grid system we're going to work off. We're going to work in portrait mode this time. So, the grid system we are going to work off is from the center of your page, approximately. You're going to go 10 dots out to the right, 1 centimeter apart, back to center. 10 dots out to the left, 1 centimeter apart, back to center. Down 14 dots, 1 centimeter apart, back to center, and up 14 dots, 1 centimeter apart, and back to center. Okay. So the first group of flowers we're going to plot out are over this side here. We're just going to plot these on first. And I'll give you the coordinates for those, and then the others, and then we're going to freewheel a little bit so you can pop stuff on. But feel free to just freewheel it if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But this just gives you an indication of where to put them on the page when you are working. Let's just move my water out of the way. I can move my paper down, that's better. So we'll do these ones at the top first. So on the grid line, you've got 1 out to the left, you've got 4.8, and then you've got 2.6, that's on the grid line. And then you're going to go out to the left 4 centimeters, and you're going to come down 4 millimeters. Then you're going to go out to the left 6 centimeters, and you're going to go up 5 millimeters. Out to the left 7 centimeters, and up 6 centimeters. Got another one out to the left 6 centimeters, and you're going to go up 1.7 centimeters. And out to the left 4.5, and up 1.5 centimeters. Then you got one out to the left 4 centimeters, and up 1 centimeter. And we're just going to plot these ones down here. I'm going to come down 4.4. I'm going to go out to the left 6.5. And we're going to come down 5.5 and out to the left 5.1. And also on that 5.5 line, we've got 2 here. So you go out to the left 5.1 and also out to the left 7.4. So on the 5.5 line, you can see me holding my ruler. We've got 1 at 5.1 and 1 at 7.4. And slide your ruler down to let's have a look, 6.4. And then you're going to go out to the left 6.5. And then back to the center on your grid, and you're going to come down on the grid line and highlight 2.6, and then continue down and highlight 3.8. And on the 3.8 marker, you're going to go out to the right 1.8 and do yourself a marker. Then slide your ruler back up to the 2.6 that you already put on and go out to the right 1.5. Cool. You got dots all over the place. But we're going to join them up. You can see there. So these are all the markers I've given you. And highlight the orange ones. So I'll just probably start on this one down here. Just join them up. And create kind of overly daisy shapes. And this final one up here doesn't have to look exactly like mine, but something similar to that. And once you've got those on, you're actually going to freehand all these little details. Now, don't colour in those bits in black. I've just highlighted them in black pencil so you can see the difference between the stalk and the flower petals themselves. So they're all just going to be freehand drawn. Just draw them like so, because we're going to colour them all in with masking fluid. That's just so you can see. Now you can see it comes down, they come down to about the 12 centimetre marker if you want any indication there. So just either pause your little screen there and just draw what you can see, something similar. You've got the original to work on with a bit of luck, and you can also see what you're supposed to be doing with those. Just take your time. I'll let you pause that so you can see on your screen. Now I'm going to click in the next one. So the next one we're going to put on the next set of circles. You can see if you're still working, you can see the orange bits. That's where you need to be at as regards the dots. And then we're going to do these 4 up here. So I'm just going to pop those on. I'm going to give you the coordinates for those. So let's just start from here and work our way from the bottom here, and we'll go up. In the center of the grid, you're going to go out to the right 3 millimeters and do yourself a marker. Then you can continue along the grid to 2.4 and give yourself a marker. And then along the grid still, you're going to highlight the 6 centimeter marker. So you need all those. We'll just pop these ones on down here. So out to the right 1 centimeter, down 5 millimeters. Do yourself a little marker. So done that one, we've done that one, we've done that one. And then go out to the right 5.2. This is all on the right hand side. Right 5.2 and come down 4 millimeters and highlight that. And out to the right 6 centimeters and come down 1.3 and do yourself a marker. And then continue out to the 7 centimeter marker and come down 1.1 and do yourself a marker. And that's all the markers underneath there. So let's just pop these on the top here. So up 1 centimeter and out to the right 1 centimeter, do yourself a marker. And we've got a few on the same line here. Got this one here. So up 2 centimeters and out to the right 8 centimeters, do yourself a marker. Slide your ruler up to the 3 centimeter marker. You've got 2 on here. So you're going to go out to the right 5.8 and out to the right 7.8. Do yourself 2 little markers, 5.8 and 7.8. Then you're going to move up to the 3.5 centimeter marker and go out to the right 3 centimeters. Do yourself a marker. Slide your ruler up to the 4 centimeter marker. And you've got 2 again on here. 1 out to the right 2 centimeters, 1 out to the right 4 centimeters. Do yourself 2 little markers on that line. And slide up to the 5 centimeter marker, and then you go out to the right and highlight the 3 centimeter marker dot. All right, you should have all those on there. Once you've got those all on, we're going to join them up. Let me just highlight them a bit bolder. So this one here, I'm doing have a funny little middle, which you can probably see. Is it on the painting? Oh, look on the painting here. There's a little bit going on with the painting. That's what that's all about. That's a 6 centimeter marker, and that's that little circle down there. So it doesn't have to look exactly like mine, something similar. They're just a circle of flowers. Join them all up. Pop them all on. And once you've joined those all up, again, you're going to draw on the petals. I haven't coloured them in black this time, so you can kind of see what they should be. Well, they should look like that, something similar to that. And the more you do, the more you've got to colour in with your ruling pen. Whatever you're using to put your masking fluid on with. I'm just looking for my ruling pen at the moment. Whoa. If you just draw those all on, okay. And pause your screen there so you can actually take your time to draw those. And I'll just put in the next one. So this is the final drawing. We're not going to join anymore because we're actually going to then put everything in masking fluid and work from that. So you've done all the orange bits. These are the bits I've given you already. So just add in leaves. You don't have to look exactly like mine. This is the original here. You can kind of see the bits I've put on. Just going to flip up and look right. Okay, so you can actually see. I will move that down. See where we need to be at. So just take your time and add in some leaves. I think the original is going to help you. Here you go. I need to turn everything up. Right, hopefully you've got that all completed. Now you can rub out your grid lines, you don't need that anymore as much as possible. And we just want a pencil drawing. This is the one I'm going to be working on. You can see my pencil marks here. And actually you can also see, if you look closely, that I've got my masking fluid all on there already. That's because I want it to be dry before I work on it with my paint. So I'm going to show you how to put your masking fluid on. But this is where you need to be at. You can see the most of my pages there, and I've got that all going on up there. Now, you need to give this a good shake. You need to tip it into a little pot so you can use it properly. We'll get to it. Now, you can use an old paintbrush if you want. You need to wash it with washing up liquid. It's the only stuff will get it out. It doesn't get it out very well, so don't use a really good paintbrush. I use kind of one of these shop pots. Tip a little bit in there, not too much. Just put a little bit in the bottom of my pot here. It's just easier because I've used quite a lot of it and I can't get my ruling pen down inside that to get what I want out of it. Now I use a ruling pen simply because it's easy to control and you're not ruining a brush every time you use it. It's got one of these little dialy things on the top here, which alters the width of these two little prongs together. Now, so you do it quite tight, you'll get a more narrow line. And if you do it wider, you get a wider line. I just leave it sat about there when I'm using the masking fluid. Doesn't need to, because you can kind of adjust it as you go. We need to colour in all these little bits. Anyway, so let me just use my other picture here. You should be able to see a little bit better on here. So basically you dunk it in and you get stuck in between these little bits here. Now with a ruling pen, you don't use it like that. You don't want the dial on top when you're colouring in. It needs to be sideways to what you're doing, otherwise it won't come out of the middle bit. So you're just going to start to colour it in with your masking fluid. Like so. And you're also going to colour in all these little flower arms, which will be quite difficult, but you're just going to gently colour them in with your masking fluid. Slowly but surely. And you're going to do all of it, the leaves, everything, as it was on my original picture here. Like so. So you can see all these, shiny stuff is masking fluid. See it? Plus these little blobs up here, which I just splattered my masking fluid, which gives you all these little blobs here when you take them off. Like so. So what it means is, because we've got all that masking fluid on there, we can do this nice wash background, and then we just gently peel it all off, and then we start to fill in the flowers, which is what we're going to do now. Right, okay, so once that's all dried off, that needs to be thoroughly dried before we can start painting the background. Now, on this background here, I used a bit of, this is phthalo blue, and then I used some cadmium yellow. Mixed together makes this like greeny colour going on, and here, probably dumped a bit of indigo in here by the looks of it down here, made it a bit different. So you just choose which other background, you choose your background colour you want to use, but don't have to follow mine whatsoever. And then I've got like some gamboge and some cadmium yellow. If you don't have gamboge, you can use orange. And then I went over the top with some gouache for these little white dots. If you don't have that, you can also use, I might actually use my gel pen. If you've got a gel pen, you can use your gel pen. Either, doesn't matter. Just use whatever you've got to hand. Doesn't matter with that respect. But let's get this background on so we can get it dry. So it's just wet and wet. There's 3 brushes I'm going to use for this: a 12/6 and my nice little drawing script brush. I'm just going to put on a lot of water. Let's move the original out of the way so I can work a bit better. Just want it nice and wet so the paint flows nicely. You can see I'm just popping it on there. No urgency. I'll let that soak in a little bit. Down to about there. Make sure you've just gone over all the areas you've got masking fluid. You can see it's quite shiny. I'm just going to let it leave it for a few seconds. Oh, just a bit there. You tip it, you can see bits you've missed putting water on. Okay, that will do. And get my phthalo blue, which is this one, I believe. Let's find out. Let's start putting it on. There we go. And we want some varied colours, or I do, so, but it depends on how your thinking goes. And you can always think about underneath the flowers a little bit darker, so you can always have a little bit of a darker colour underneath of the colour you've chosen. I mean, obviously, look, it just lets you paint even the flowers, the leaves. You don't have to worry about where you're going too much. Let's get that nice different flow of background on there. Let's get it all on. It's quite loose. As loose as what we want. And we can add another. Let's put the cadmium yellow in this corner. Oh, got green already, look, see. With my gamboge. There we go. I'll just poke them into each other and I'll start to talk to each other. Get that green, lovely.
Yeah, you choose what colours you want, really. Depends how you feel you want, what you want. Tip them up, just mix. Anyway, we'll add a bit of darker and you can go underneath with a bit of indigo. You've got to think what it's going to look like once you pull off all this stuff. Now, if you finding there's not much paint stain on it, means you need to allow your paper to dry a little bit. It's too wet. You'll only know that by practice. The more you practice, you'll work out how your paper reacts. I've got a bit of indigo on my brush now. That's why it's going a bit green, which is quite fun. And if it's not taking colour, it means it's too wet. So you just need to wait. I just switch to my smaller brush. Sometimes the bigger brushes carry too much water. If you want to try to put on pigment and it's not doing it, I'm going to go to my number 6 now. This is the indigo. Just adding it underneath little flowers. Add a little bit of shadow, see? You don't have to worry about what you're painting because of the masking fluid. That's the fun of it. You can be quite loose with it. Got this here. We're going to add in the stalks a bit later once it's dry. Got some leaves going on here. Let that dry. It will dry lighter than you think it will. So make sure you've got enough pigment on that you're happy with. Doesn't have to look like mine, your version of mine. It's quite loose. And that's the start of it. I'll leave it, let it dry. You can tip it, just play around with it. Let the water, the colours all kind of touch each other. Create this lovely fluid background, excuse me, that we want to happen. Okay, so I'm going to pause this and dry it. Right, okay, so I've dried this with the hairdryer. As you can see, it's turned out differently background to what I've got on here, but similar. You can see. And now we're going to add in the flowers. But first of all, we've got to peel off this masking fluid very, very gently and very, very carefully. Now, this stuff is notorious for ripping paper, so you need to be really careful. So you don't want to do all this big scrubbing and getting it all off that way. You just gently choose an area. You just get your finger and you gently scrub it. And then don't be tempted to get it and really pull it like a piece of string, because you will rip the paper that way. So just gently get it. You can see here. It will take a while because I've done quite a lot on this one. You can see the masking fluid coming off and a little bit like Copydex glue we used to do in the olden days. Let's get it slowly, slowly. Don't see that. Now that is doing that on that one. So don't be tempted to just rip it off, because that's when you will get it ripping the paper. Just gently rub it with your finger. Eventually there'll be a time when you can pull it all off. It'll just naturally go that way. You see I'm just scrubbing it. I'm going to try and break that off now because I don't want a too big a lump of masking fluid. Let's pull that off. If you do rip your paper, it's not a disaster completely. See, it just comes off in these funny little pieces. So you're just going to work around your picture. It's quite satisfying. Start to peel these off. You can see the little petal leaves. I've got a big lump of, I splattered it, look there. I've got a big bit of stringy bit there. So just be careful not to pull that. Just go gently, that's all I'll say. Don't get carried away with rubbing it off, as you might find you rip your paper. But it's a lovely stuff to use because it keeps the white of the paper, as you can see there, but it also rips the paper. So you just take your time peeling it off. I'm going to actually pause this now and peel this all off, because you don't really want to watch me peeling this all off. I'll maybe peel the last few off and then I'll come back to you. Right, I've peeled all my masking fluid off. I've got this lovely little collection here. Check a little bit more with the dots up here. And you can see I've got this lovely, very loose background on there. So now I'm just going to take my rubber, because I've got pencil marks where my petals are. I now want to kind of just tidy up a little bit. I don't really need them. I'm going to use the paint as my markers to draw in my painting my petals. I'm just going to gently rub out pencil marks that I think might shine through the paint, because once you paint over it, you can't get rid of pencil marks. You don't have to do this. You can leave them as reference, whatever you want to do. I'm going to start to fill in the flowers. So I'm going to use I'm going to use my gamboge yellow. Feel free to use, I've got cadmium yellow. That's slightly more yellow. This is more of an orangey yellow. Actually, let's use cadmium yellow as the base color. So I'm just going to work around these. That's a bit watery. Let me clean water. I'm just going to change my water. Just a bit blue and yellow together. Do you yellow when you've got a brush. Right. So I'm going to start on this one here. I'm going to start to create the little flowers. So I just put a bit of water on there. And then I'm just going to add, oh, that's a bit right, yellow. Oh, I've got loads of yellow on my brush by the looks of it. So let's get some of these middles going. So like space saucers, really. And then you're just going to build them up once you've got the colour on there. I'm going to put my, you can do cadmium yellow. I'm going to use the gamboge. That needs to dry a little bit. I'm just going to work our way around each flower as we go. Now we can tighten up these edges a little bit better once we've got a bit of paint on. If you want, you can move to your smaller brush and start to paint the little petals in those white areas that we created with the masking fluid. This is just cadmium yellow. Just dry paper, because we're working in such a small area. Don't have your paint too wet, it's quite thick. Just have a bit more control. The thicker it is, I'm just going to slowly work around each of these little daisies. So don't worry about the stalks or anything like that on the leaves. We're just going to build up the daisies to start with. The idea is to get rid of the whites of the paper that we've kind of just created with our masking fluid. So that one's quite wet, so I'm just going to leave that to dry a little bit. Too much paint. Let's do this one. Slowly, so work your way around each of these little flowers. You just have to work backwards and forwards on these flowers as they dry. You add other bits, then you can go back. You just choose which ones you want to work on. Yeah, you can just work on one at a time if you prefer. I've got paint on my brush, so I don't like to waste it. So I like to get it on the paper. Drop that. I'm just going to add a bit of, you can use cadmium yellow or gamboge. Gamboge isn't quite as strong, but you can see it gets that nice orangey colour, which gives me my shade. You can use orange, cadmium orange, which I'll use on this one. Use on this one as well. So cadmium orange, gamboge, we want this kind of rusty colour to give that little shadow underneath the little circle. You just start to add it in. You need to let it dry a little bit. Sometimes it just floats on the top and it won't take, paper won't let it take whilst it's still quite wet. And then you can use and come out a little bit on some of them. Okay, a bit of shadow on the ends. A little bits with a bit of the darker yellow gamboge or a bit of orange, whatever you're using. You can go in with pen. Once you've got it all on there, give it even more of texture at the end. So just let that kind of just dry off a little bit. You can keep going back. You have to get everything done in one go. Let's work on this one up here. Same thing. I've got orange on my pens, my paintbrush, so I'm not going to waste it. Start to create that little circle on the top, bit of shadow under there. And then we can add a little bit on the end. You can use your little brush if you prefer. This one here. You like him, you can go in. It's quite nice because you can draw with it. I quite like this one. Okay, he's dried off a little bit back there. Let's just get rid of that. It's dried. A bit more water. That's better. And you're just going to work around all these daisies. So I'm just going to slowly work around these daisies, starting at the yellow. That's all yellow underneath. Slowly work. There we go. Hopefully you've done your masking fluid neat enough that you haven't got to do too much tidying up. I've done something weird there, but that's right. I'll play with that a bit. Loads of paint, so let's get rid of that. There. And that one there. And go in with some orange or gamboge, yellow. Gamboge is like a rusty yellow. That's too much paint on it at the moment. Well, let's paint the little legs on. Let's wait for that to dry a little bit. It's quicker with this script pencil, sorry, paintbrush even. That one we've used the black velvet brush. It's useful for many things. Trees, we were using that last week for trees. No, little yellow spiders. What kind of drawing? Well, let's get these ones on. Yes. So try and just get some colour variation. I do a little bit of orange gambos or whatever on the tips, the little petals that are out here. Dark under here. Just to get that bit of difference so it's not all yellow. This one here. Some of that funny little circle going on. Drip. Quite wet, that one. Blend with a bit of water. So we're just building up slowly. We can always go back. It's no big deal if we missed a bit. We're going to get colour on there first. Right, so let's just fill these all in with cadmium yellow. That's it. We can start to see it sort of pinging out. Just got to let it do its thing, and we can go in with pen. There's plenty of doing. We have no near even finished. So let's just pop these all in, give them the colour. So we'll get these dry before we attempt to do the final bit of leaves and stuff like that. And then we can go with a bit of pen just to snap everything. Well, you've got that blue. If you've used phthalo, just be mindful that blue and yellow make green, and it will make green if you let it. So you just got to keep your brush really clean of any colour other than the one that you're using. Okay. That's what you can do. Actually, probably nice to do this in your. Oh, you won't be able to do. You could do this bit in your brush pens, actually, I suppose. Or add brush pens once you've done this bit. Play around a bit. You can't do the background doing that way there. Right, let's go with my embouche. I need music on, don't I? Right, slowly. It's too wet to do anything with this bit. at the moment. Leave it a little bit. So that's it. Like that. And I'm going to go around and just build that up a little bit more. So just work my way around. Okay. And we've got these leaves to pop on. So I'm going to use my normal colours I use for foliage, which would be my sap green and indigo. Feel free to use different greens if you want to. So just added a bit of water on the bigger leaves. It's just easier to paint them in. I mean, you're basically going to be starting to fill in the white paper. That's what we're trying to do with this. And wet and wet just makes that process a little bit quicker. And this bit of indigo changes the green to darker green. And you're going to use your little script paintbrush to kind of draw on the veins whilst it's still wet. It's quite nice to get a nice little loose effect. You can wait for it to be dry if you prefer. And then I've got a bit of dry paper that I'm now working with. Now you can do this with your pen, or you can do it while you've got your paper. That's dry paper I'm painting on, so I didn't go right to the edge. It depends what effect you're after, and that's really down to personal choice. So I'm just going to go and fill these all in with my sap green and just different variations. And put that on. And start building up. It's the leaves. You can go back to them. There's no hurry to get everything done exactly on one leaf. This is quite a loose painting. So my shadow is done with the indigo and the leaves. And then you can dry it, you can go over again and add a little bit more. When it's dry, you can add stronger paint. This is just dry over this side, so I'm just going to go in dry. Sap green this side. Yeah. So with this one. We start to define them as they dry, and then we can add pen. I'm also wet at the moment, it's a bit difficult to do. too much. Okay, leave that for a minute. Where I've got leaves, got a few on the other side. Put one here. That's a bit wet. It's just dry paper. It's going to colour them in basically. There's another one there. Another one here. A few. Just got the sap green. Just colouring them in. Yeah, here. And you can add a bit of. Well, you can't really see that much. You can add a bit of indigo. A bit of tone. They are loose. They are very loose. It's nothing. I haven't done them in detail, but feel free if that's the way you want to do it, to do it. I'm going to join him up with the stalk, that one there. I'm just going to dry this off, so I'm just going to turn my recording on pause. Right, I'm going to start to add in some of the stalks so I can see where I'm at, and then we can take it from there. So I've just got burnt umber on mine. I'm just going to draw them in with my paintbrush. So just draw them on, basically. Simple as. I haven't got one there, so I'm going to have to add in. This one doesn't have one. Just draw them in. Brilliant. Just create what you like, really. You can do it with a brush, you can do it with a pen in a bit. It's really up to you. This way you start to add yeah, a little bit more detail. Now you can mix between brown and green on these little detail bits. I will be going in with my pen as well, but you don't have to. You can just do it purely with a watercolor. Just depends on what you want, really. I change my mind all the time when I'm doing these things. I'm going to do my little stalk from there. I'll take that all the way up. Go with the pen. Oh, I've got an added. Wait, I didn't have before. Okay. Don't know where that came from. Might not have this. I obviously decided to add another one in. Let's just give one a little base. Right, let's stick this one here. Yeah, so just start to, obviously I'm adding in little stalks and details. Just make sure all your little flowers have got something they're sitting on something. Just to make sure. Take it all the way up to the top. You can make little branches with your brush, or you can go in with your pen a bit, which I went in a little bit, and go in more finite with pen. So add in all those little bits. So I'm just drawing in. Now you can use your pen. This part, if you prefer. I've got brown paint on my brush, so I'm just going to use it up. Just start to define those little lazy things. But I said you can use your pen if you prefer to do it on this bit. I just literally had on the original, I used my pen, but I've got brown paint on my brush, so I'm just using it up. Just find the edges of the little flowers a bit better. Good, so that kind of kicks that out a little bit. Where is my pen? I am going to go in with my pen now. And you're just going to tidy everything up and sort of define everything a little bit better. Really nice. This one here, it's quite detailed. And you can do little marks. And if you've lost it with your masking fluid, this is where you can find it back with your pen. I just like to make my bottom bit a bit more scruffy. And you can add little bits of twig on. If there's a leaf that you need to define a little bit more, you can, using this. Around it a little bit better. So you don't have to do this at all. You can leave it. So they use pen on the original around these, but feel free. I just used paint because I had it on my paintbrush earlier. You might want to define these little edges a little bit better. Oops, must be cleared that. So you're just working your way around, adding detail. Now, if you have a mask for that, get that off in a minute. I've just gone and got my gel pen. Now you can use gouache as well, or gel pen. It's really up to you how you want to do that. And up here, we've got lots of little spindly branches. Which we can add on as much and as little as you like. like so. And once you're happy with that, I'm going to use my gel pen. These middle bits need to be dry before you can do that. You've got your dip dot in the middle. That's what happening visual here. These things. Or you can use your gouache paint with a very fine brush. But the gel pen that we have used before is pretty good for that. You do need dark paint for it to show through there. So if you don't have dark paint, and it does need to be dry. My paint might be a bit wet, but we're going with it. There you go. You can start to see me adding. It's just dot, 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 dot. That's why you need the orange or gamboge, whatever colour, to really kick out these little white dots. Otherwise, you won't see them. It'll be difficult to see them. It's not a big deal if you can't see them, but just adds a little bit more of a dimension to the seed heads. If you can't see your paint, then just use a black pen and just do black dots. Or if you've got, ideally, if you have one of those pens in like a sepia colour, brown colour, then do that. Just change the colour of the dots depending on what you've got in the middle here and what shows up. Really? That's it. There we go. And we'll get to sign it. So this is your 20-second picture. Pop them through when you are done.